On the day my SAT scores were released, I sent my online friend one final message. I won't get into Harvard. Goodbye. Then I blocked her contact. I'd chosen MIT instead. During our first physics lab lecture of the semester, the impossibly young female professor fixed her gaze on me for a full 10 seconds. One corner of her mouth curved into a sharp smile. You there, come up and work through this problem for the class. I walked you through this derivation before. Every eye in the lecture hall locked on me. So did hers. Her stare was sharp enough to cut. On June 25th, the day my SAT scores were released, my dad hovered over the family laptop from dawn, refreshing the score portal for 40 minutes straight, his hands shaking non-stop. I was in the kitchen boiling noodles, mixing in soy sauce, vinegar, and a spoonful of chili oil. Joe, hurry over, look at this. Chopsticks clinked against my ceramic bowl as I carried the steaming noodles to the desk. The screen displayed crisp black text on a white background. The SAT composite maximum score was 1600, and I'd scored a 1598. My dad's voice cracked with shock. A 1598? That has to be one of the highest scores in the entire country. I slurped a mouthful of noodles and hummed a quiet agreement. He repeated my score 3 times to himself in disbelief, then grabbed his phone, yelling about sharing the news with our extended family group chat. I tuned him out. My phone was blowing up non-stop. Texts from my high school advisor, department dean, and principal piled up one after another, plus 2 unfamiliar official emails waiting for my reply. The first thread was from Harvard undergraduate admissions. Their admissions counselor reached out over scheduled Zoom correspondence, laying out a full financial aid package, guaranteed access to undergraduate physics research opportunities, priority consideration for senior faculty mentorship, and a streamlined path to apply for graduate study after completing my degree. I replied that I would weigh the offer carefully. A second official outreach landed right after, from MIT's undergraduate admissions office. Their financial aid and research package matched Harvard's, with one key addendum in the closing paragraph. Shenzhou. Our Department of Physics has an early career associate professor, Dr. Su Nianqing, who reviewed your International Physics Olympiad research paper and submitted a special request to connect with you regarding our undergraduate lab opportunities. Su Nianqing. The name hit me like a jolt. I typed a follow-up reply to ask for context on Dr. Su. The admissions representative wrote back quickly. Dr. Su is only 25. The youngest tenure-track associate professor hired by MIT's Department of Physics in the past decade. She completed her MIT PhD at 20, secured an independent early career research grant at 22 via our accelerated faculty fellowship pathway, and her research focuses on quantum decoherence. I stopped reading the rest of the paragraph. After closing my laptop, I opened WeChat. My pinned chat sat at the very top. Profile picture: a white Scottish fold cat. The contact label read, Nian Nian. Her last message had sent the night before. Scores come out tomorrow. Are you nervous? Don't second guess yourself. Your work's more than strong enough for Harvard. When you make it to Boston, I'll treat you to dinner. A soft smiley emoji sat at the bottom of the text. I stared at that emoji for 10 full seconds. Su Nianqing. Nian Nian. A 25-year-old associate professor of physics at MIT with an MIT PhD. The world really was smaller than I had imagined. I'd known Nian Nian for 2 full years. Back in my sophomore year of high school, I posted an unpolished discussion thread about quantum decoherence on an international physics forum. My reasoning was messy, full of logical gaps I could spot myself, and every comment mocked my half-baked ideas, all except one account, always Nian Nian. She left a lengthy, detailed response correcting 3 core errors in my work and filling in 2 missing mathematical derivations line by line. We added each other on WeChat shortly after. She told me she worked in physics research but never elaborated on her specific role, and I never pressed her for extra details. Over 2 years, she walked me through every chapter of the Feynman lectures on physics, guided me through 2 full sets of International Physics Olympiad past exam papers, and painstakingly revised every single derivation I sent her. Gradually, our conversation stretched far beyond equations and research papers. She told me she owned a cat named Yuanzi, A stubborn Scottish fold that only let her handle it. She hated cilantro so intensely the scent alone made her gag. She mentioned living and working in Boston under constant heavy research pressure, and sometimes messaged me in the dead of night just to have someone to talk to. I asked which city she was based in. Boston, she replied. That's perfect. I told her. Boston's my target for college. She sent a facepalming emoji. Then you're on the hook to buy me a meal once you're here. Deal. I agreed without hesitation. We never hopped on video calls or voice chats. She said she disliked speaking to strangers through screens, and I never pushed the subject. For 2 years, all I knew about her was her nickname Nyan Nyan, her background in physics, the fact that she lived in Boston, her cat, and her hatred of cilantro. Now I had one critical new detail. Associate Professor of Physics at MIT, Su Nyenching. I set my phone down. My noodles had gone cold and soggy. I thought the situation over for 3 seconds, then grabbed my phone again to type out a message. Nyan Nyan, I don't think I'll end up attending Harvard after all. Goodbye. I hit send, tapped the 3-dot menu in the top right corner, and selected block contact. A confirmation pop-up appeared, and I clicked confirm without hesitation. My dad was still shouting from the living room. Joe, your aunt's blowing up the group chat asking if you're picking Harvard or MIT. I shoveled the cold noodles into my mouth and mumbled through a mouthful of food. MIT. Huh? Why MIT when Harvard reached out first with a full scholarship? I swallowed my food and said nothing. The reasoning felt far too embarrassing to say out loud. An 18-year-old kid choosing an entire university solely because of a woman he'd never met face to face. Everyone I knew would tease me relentlessly if they found out. But in that moment, my mind was made up completely. I needed to go to MIT, to meet her in person, to finally lay eyes on the woman who'd tutored me through physics for 2 years and stayed up with me through countless late-night study sessions. As for why I blocked her, I didn't want her to find out my plans ahead of time. I wanted to appear in front of her unannounced and give her a genuine surprise. That the surprise would spiral into an awkward, tense mess later on, that was a story for another day. September 1st. MIT freshman move-in day. I dragged my suitcase down the noisy dorm hallway and pushed open my assigned room door. A guy with messy curly hair lay on the top bunk gaming, and he peeked over the edge when he heard the door creak open. You're Shinjo. Yeah. He jumped down to shake my hand immediately. Lin Bei. I'm from California. Electrical engineering track. What's your major? Physics. Whoa. That's impressive. The physics program barely accepts any freshmen. He rambled non-stop while helping me haul my luggage inside. After a quick unpack, I pulled out my printed class schedule. I had a lecture the next morning. Introduction to Basic Physics Lab. Held in a massive auditorium. The instructor's name on the schedule was Dr. Su Nyenching. I stared at the schedule slip for 30 seconds before shoving it back into my backpack. Lin Bei leaned over my shoulder. Something wrong? Nothing important. See you tomorrow for lecture. The auditorium seated over 100 undergrads. I picked a seat near the back middle row and opened my notebook, keeping my expression neutral. Lin Bei tagged along to audit the lecture despite knowing almost none of the advanced physics material, muttering that he wanted to soak up the department's academic atmosphere. I ignored his quiet rambling. The lecture bell rang. When the classroom door swung open, every boy in the front row twisted their heads at once, collectively drawing sharp quiet gasps. I looked up too. The woman walking in looked impossibly young. Straight black hair tied into a low ponytail, crisp white blouse tucked into high-waisted tailored slacks, a thick research folder tucked under one arm. Her facial features were sharp, defined jawline, high cheekbones, upturned outer corners to her eyes when her expression was neutral. She stepped up to the podium, set her folder flat on the desk, and swept her gaze slowly across every row of seats. My name is Dr. Su Nyenching. I'll be instructing your Introduction to Basic Physics Lab this semester. If you have research or coursework questions, visit my office during posted hours. Her voice wasn't loud. Yet every student in the auditorium fell dead silent instantly. Lin Bei whispered a shocked breath beside me. That's our professor. I didn't reply. My fingers tightened around my pen. It was her. No formal confirmation needed. No extra verification required. Pure instinct told me everything. The rhythm of her speech. Her word choice. The tiny verbal ticks she used mid-sentence. It matched every text she'd sent me over WeChat for 2 years. Nian Nian. Su Nianqing. After 2 years of only digital conversation, I was finally seeing her face in person. My heart raced, and my palms grew damp with nervous sweat. I forced a deep breath and fixed my gaze firmly on my notebook, determined not to draw attention to myself. I was just another random freshman. She had no idea what I looked like, no clue that my full name was Shenzhou. Logically, there was no way she could connect me to her online friend, Shenzhou. Her clear voice cut through the quiet auditorium without hesitation. My pen froze mid-page. Over 100 pairs of eyes swiveled straight toward my seat. Dr. Su Nianqing stood behind the podium, clutching the printed freshman roster sheet. Her stare locked unblinkingly on me. Her face held zero extra emotion. Unnervingly calm. Is Shenzhou present today? I heard my own voice respond. Here. She gave a small, sharp nod. Come up to the front. I slowly closed my notebook, stood from my seat, and walked step by step between the rows of desks until I reached the whiteboard at the front of the lecture hall. I turned to face the crowd. 100 students all watching me intently. Dr. Su Nianqing stepped beside me, grabbed a dry erase marker, and scribbled a complex set of equations across the board. Boundary condition solutions for the time-dependent Schrödinger equation in a finite square potential well. The problem itself wasn't mathematically advanced, but it was far beyond the scope of a first-week freshman lab lecture. She handed the marker to me, tone even and measured. Solve this derivation for the class. She paused for half a beat, then added, I've walked you through this exact problem before. My fingertips brushed hers as I took the marker, and we both froze for a split second. Her eyes were inches away from mine, and I could read the emotion hidden beneath her calm surface. Cold, restrained anger simmering underneath. She'd figured out who I was. I racked my brain trying to work out how. The roster sheet with my full name, Shenzhou, though she knew me online simply as Zhou. There could not have been many students in the country with a 1598 SAT score who had applied to MIT's physics department, and that student was me. It hadn't taken her long to piece the clues together. The entire auditorium stayed dead silent. Everyone waited for me to start writing, unaware of the history tangled behind this single physics problem. I steadied my grip on the marker, turned back to the whiteboard, and took a deep breath. Stroke by stroke, I mapped out the full solution. Wave function segmentation, boundary condition matching, normalization constants. I knew every single step by heart, because she'd taught it to me 2 years prior. Typing every formula line by line over late-night WeChat messages. Once I finished the final equation, I set the marker down and turned back to face her. Dr. Su Nianqing scanned my full derivation for 3 full seconds before lifting her gaze to me again. A complete, standard solution with no calculation errors. Her voice remained flat, no hint of warmth. It seems you retained the material well. Return to your seat. I walked back down the auditorium steps to my chair. Lin Bei jabbed my elbow with his arm. Do you know her personally? Nope. Then why did she say your name like you'd personally offended her? I reopened my notebook and ignored his question. From the corner of my eye, I watched Dr. Su turn back to begin the lecture. Her posture stayed rigid and straight. No small unnecessary movements, but her knuckles whitened around the laser pointer she held, tight with suppressed frustration. She delivered a deliberate first-class reprimand right off the bat. A tangled mix of guilt, nervousness, and awkwardness churned in my chest. Either way, this semester was guaranteed to be far more complicated than I'd expected. The second the dismissal bell rang, Dr. Su Nianqing packed her folder and walked straight out without glancing back. I stood up, ready to follow her out of the hall, when a tall male student blocked the doorway entirely. He stood over 6 feet tall, wearing an expensive navy polo shirt, a luxury watch hanging heavy on his right wrist. He twisted his wrist outward subconsciously every time he checked the time. A performative little habit. I'd learn his name was Zhao Chen later that day. He stood in the hallway, cutting off Dr. Su's path before she could leave. Dr. Su. I'm Zhao Chen, a first-year physics undergrad. I have a research project question I'd love to run by you. Would you have a spare minute? Dr. Su didn't slow her pace. My posted office hours run 10 a.m. to noon. You may wait in line with other students during that window. Zhao Chen's polite smile froze on his face for a split second before he recovered his composure. He turned and locked eyes with me next, sweeping his gaze up and down my frame in a quick, judgmental once-over, slotting me into the category of students he deemed unworthy of his attention. He looked away and walked off without another word. Lin Bei popped up behind me, eyes wide. Who was that guy? Is that a Patek Philippe on his wrist? Real or replica? I don't know him. And it doesn't matter. I had far bigger problems to focus on than his designer watch. I had no afternoon lectures, so I sat alone in my dorm room for an hour scrolling WeChat. I pulled up my blocked contacts list. Nian Nian's profile picture stayed grayed out, the static image of her white Scottish fold cat unchanged. I hesitated for a long time, ultimately choosing not to unblock her yet. My plan to surprise her had completely backfired already. I'd originally planned to bump into her casually after move-in week, then reveal that I was Zhou, but she'd beaten me to the punch, dragging me onto the whiteboard in front of over 100 peers. I'd earned this cold reception fair and square. Blocking someone for 2 full months with zero explanation would make anyone furious. But our dynamic was now irreparably messy. She was my tenure-track professor, and I was her freshman student. There was no simple way to fix this fractured dynamic. The next morning, I crossed paths with Zhao Chen in the academic building hallway. 3 or 4 other freshmen circled around him, one chattering non-stop to curry favor. When Zhao Chen spotted me, his gaze lingered for a beat before he spoke up loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Hey, you're the kid Dr. Su singled out to solve that board problem yesterday, right? I paused walking. Yeah. Zhao Chen smirked. What's your connection to Dr. Su? Getting pulled up front on the first lecture must mean you've got some special standing with her. No connection at all. He tilted his head and scanned my outfit again. You're wearing Enta sneakers, that budget Chinese brand. One of his friends snickered quietly beside him. I glanced down at my shoes. Yeah, Enta. Refreshingly honest, Zhao Chen said, patting his friend's shoulder, his volume calibrated so I could catch every word. Wonder what Dr. Su sees in students like this. His friend laughed in agreement. I fixed my gaze directly on Zhao Chen. You twist your wrist outward 20 degrees every time you check your watch. It's an obvious performative tell. Zhao Chen's smirk vanished instantly. I turned and walked away without waiting for a reply. Silence hung in the hallway for 2 full seconds before his voice floated after me, cool and sharp. Interesting. Back in the dorm that evening, Lin Bei approached me with a conspiratorial look. Shen Zhou, do you know anything about Zhao Chen's background? Not interested. You should care. Honestly. Lin Bei lowered his voice to a hushed whisper. Have you heard of Zhao Corporation? His father Zhao Zhengde runs a major internet data services firm. Their annual revenue hit $8 billion last fiscal year. I paused mid-pour of my water glass. Zhao Corporation. I knew the company well. Their entire core data optimization architecture was built on an algorithm I'd coded during my sophomore year of high school. I licensed the code out through 3 separate offshore shell holding companies to protect my anonymity, and Zhao Corporation was one of the first corporate clients to sign a commercial licensing contract, paying a yearly fee of $24 million. No one at Zhao Corporation knew the 18-year-old behind their foundational algorithm. There was no reason to volunteer the information publicly. I set my water glass down on the desk. Zhao Corporation. I've heard of it. That's all you're gonna say. The guy's family runs a multi-billion-dollar tech enterprise. I get it. I flipped off the dorm room light. Tomorrow I had Dr. Su's lab lecture. And that was the far more complicated issue to work through. Week 2 of the semester arrived. And Dr. Su Nianqing made it clear she intended to hold me to an extremely high standard in every class session. She called on me to answer every verbal question during lecture, assigned an extra ultra-difficult bonus problem only to me for every homework set, and placed me first to present during our mock research defense exercise. The entire class picked up on the tension between us immediately. Does Dr. Su have some personal grudge against that Shenzhou kid? I overheard a student murmur from the back row. Another classmate replied. He must have rubbed her the wrong way before the semester started. I sat quietly at my desk, outwardly calm, inwardly kicking myself. Ghosting her for 2 months with zero communication, then showing up as her student. Of course she wouldn't greet me with warmth. Dr. Su announced an impromptu in-class challenge. An advanced general relativity derivation far beyond freshman curriculum limits, with a 15-minute time limit to complete it on the board. A chorus of groans rippled through the lecture hall. She scanned every row of seats. Any volunteers to attempt this? No one raised a hand. Zhao Chen lifted his hand halfway before dropping it again. I could tell his skill level was nowhere near enough to tackle the tensor calculus problem. Dr. Su's gaze landed on me once more. Shenzhou. Every pair of eyes in the room locked onto my seat again. I stood and walked to the podium, grabbing the marker to read the prompt. Contraction condition constraints of the curvature tensor. It was definitely out of syllabus bounds, but she taught me this exact derivation the previous winter. For 3 consecutive nights. She'd typed out every formula segment over WeChat until 2 a.m., even knowing she had early morning research lectures the next day, never once complaining about the late hours. The memory made my marker glide smoothly across the whiteboard. The derivation flowed without a single pause. Segmentation, variable substitution, tensor operation simplification, boundary condition resolution. By the 4th line of equations, quiet whispers broke out across the hall, students confused how a freshman could grasp this graduate-level material. By the 7th line, the murmurs cut off completely. Every student fixated on the equations I wrote. When I finished the final line of the proof, I set the marker down and turned to face the podium. Dr. Su stood to the side, arms folded tight across her chest, her expression layered with complicated emotion. For a split second, her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but no sound came out. She flipped through her lecture folder and regained her flat, neutral tone. The derivation is mathematically correct. You may return to your seat. Zhao Chen sat in the second row, staring at the whiteboard equations for minutes afterward. His friend leaned over to whisper something, and Zhao Chen's jaw tightened hard with frustration. After lecture ended, Zhao Chen blocked the classroom exit to stop me. Shenzhou, right? A hollow smile sat on his lips, cold malice hiding in his eyes. You're pretty skilled at blackboard work. Is this standard for all physics majors? He stepped forward into my personal space. Don't get overconfident just because you can solve a few textbook problems. At MIT, raw problem-solving talent alone won't get you anywhere meaningful. Is that so? Zhao Chen's tone sharpened. Are you aware of the university industry research project Dr. Su is launching next month? MIT will select 2 undergrads to join the team, and our corporate partner is my father's company, Zhao Corporation. He emphasized the firm's name slowly, deliberately. I'd suggest you stay realistic about your place here. Certain elite industry circles stay closed off, no matter how high your SAT scores are. He clapped a heavy hand on my shoulder to drive his point home, then left with his group of friends trailing behind him. Lin Bei rushed over from the back of the hall. Was that a thinly veiled threat? I brushed the spot on my shoulder where he'd touched me. He just said Zhao Corporation belongs to his dad. Yep. Why? Nothing important. I headed back toward the dorm, my mind fixed on one critical detail. Zhao Corporation's algorithm licensing contract expired the following month. The final call on renewal rested entirely with me. I'd written off Zhao Chen as nothing more than a loud, arrogant rich kid up until that moment, but it was clear he planned to weaponize his family's corporate influence against me. By week 3, the physics department bulletin board posted official application materials for Dr. Su's university industry research project. The core research focus was data-driven physical modeling, with Zhao Corporation listed front and center as the exclusive corporate partner. 2 undergraduate spots were available, awarded purely on merit-based review. I stood reading the posting while Lin Bei muttered beside me. This project has massive industry prestige attached to it, but with Zhao Corp funding it, Zhao Chen's guaranteed 1 spot for himself. I didn't respond to his comment. That night, the physics freshman group chat blew up with messages about the project. Zhao Chen posted a long public note. All students are welcome to submit applications for this collaboration. Competition will be fully fair and merit-based. My father's corporation will provide full industry resource support for the research team, so no one needs to worry about limited funding or data access. His wording sounded polished and neutral. But every student in the chat read the underlying message. Zhao Chen controlled this project's access and opportunities. A handful of peers immediately jumped in to praise him, commenting on how lucky the department was to have Zhao Corporation's backing. Zhao Chen replied with a handshake emoji. Someone typed a follow-up question. Is Shenzhou planning to apply? I ignored the thread entirely. Lin Bei typed a reply on my behalf. Zhou's still weighing his options. Zhao Chen sent an instant reply to that message. You're more than welcome to join us. The smiley emoji attached to the text stung to look at. The next afternoon, I headed to Dr. Su Nianqing's office to submit my application form. I knocked on the door frame. Come in. I pushed the door open to find her seated behind her desk grading lab reports, not glancing up at my entrance. Her office was compact, lined wall-to-wall with hardcover English physics textbooks, a pothose plant trailing its leaves over the windowsill. A tall cat tree sat tucked into the far corner of the room, empty. No cat present. I glanced at the cat tree briefly before shifting my gaze back to her desk. Dr. Su. I'm here to turn in my application for the University Industry Research Project. Her pen paused mid-marking. She lifted her head to meet my eyes. And the air between us hung silent for 3 full seconds. You're certain you want to apply? I'm certain. She leaned back in her office chair, tapping her fingertips lightly against the wooden desktop. Do you know who the corporate partner is? Zhao Corporation. Do you know who Zhao Chen is? I do. She studied my face for a long stretch before speaking again, her voice dropping quieter than usual. Shenzhou. Classroom coursework is one separate matter entirely. This project requires deep cross-sector university-industry collaboration. You can't rely solely on your ability to derive equations to succeed here. Do you have an established student research team, direct industry connections, professional network contacts within data science? I don't have any of those resources. Then what gives you the confidence to submit an application? I held her gaze steadily. Her eyes were bright, but a thin layer of guarded wariness lingered in them, the defensive wall someone builds after opening up to another person for 2 years, only to be suddenly blocked and cut off without warning, then forced to face that same person again in person. I opened my mouth to speak, then swallowed the planned words back down. The full truth wasn't the right thing to reveal yet. Dr. Su. My confidence comes from my own research work. Please grant me an opportunity to interview. She stared at me for a long moment before picking up her pen and writing my full name onto the official application roster. Interviews are scheduled for next Monday. Don't let me down. I nodded and turned to leave the office. As I reached the door, her voice stopped me in my tracks. One more thing. I froze, my hand resting on the metal doorknob. Did you change your phone number over the past 2 months? I've kept the same number the entire time. That's strange. Her tone softened, edged with quiet frustration. I called that number repeatedly for 2 full months, and every attempt went straight to a disconnected service alert. My knuckles whitened around the doorknob, but I didn't turn to face her. I pushed the office door open and stepped out into the hallway without a reply. 3 days before the formal project interviews, Zhao Chen organized an exclusive private dinner gathering at Songting, an upscale private restaurant near campus with a $2,000 minimum per person spend. He sent a mass invitation to every physics freshman in our group chat. Dinner this Friday evening to unwind ahead of next week's interviews. Dr. Su will also be joining us, and I've reserved the full private lakeside room for our group. Lin Bei held up his phone to show me the message. Are you planning to go? I'd originally intended to skip the event entirely, but a private direct message from Zhao Chen popped up right below the group invite. Shenzhou. You should come along. It's just a casual dinner, unless you're scared to face me. I stared at the text for 3 seconds, then typed a single-word reply. Going. Friday evening, 7 p.m., Songting's private lakeside dining room. I pushed the wooden door open to find 12 students already seated around a long table draped with dark tea-colored linen, complete with polished silver place settings and handwritten name cards at every seat. Zhao Chen occupied the head chair, with an empty reserved seat placed directly beside him, saved exclusively for Dr. Su Nianqing. He lifted an eyebrow when he spotted me walking in. "You made it. Take any open seat you like." No custom name card had been printed for me. I scanned the full table and took the empty chair at the far opposite end of the table from him. Lin Bei hurried to sit beside me, whispering in shock. This single meal's total bill would cover my entire semester's campus meal plan. Zhao Chen picked up his ceramic teacup and launched into a long string of performative bragging, speaking at a moderate volume loud enough for every person at the table to hear. This rare oolong tea was harvested from centuries-old tea bushes in China's Wui Mountains by my father's private sourcing team. Annual production is extremely limited. This private dining room rarely opens to outside reservations, but the restaurant ownership maintains a permanent business partnership with our family corporation. Midway through his third boast, the dining room door opened, and Dr. Su Nianqing stepped inside. She'd swapped her professional lecture attire for casual wear, trading her blouse and slacks for a soft black knit sweater with a slightly open neckline that exposed a small section of her collarbone. Her gaze swept across the entire room, lingering on my frame for less than half a second before she walked over to take the empty seat beside Zhao Chen. Zhao Chen's face lit up instantly. "Dr. Su, it's wonderful you could make it. I checked with several faculty members and learned that your favorite tea is Longjing green tea, so I pre-ordered a batch specifically for you." Dr. Su took a tiny sip from her teacup without acknowledging his comment. Undeterred, Zhao Chen continued directing the meal service, introducing every dish as servers brought them out one by one, highlighting the exorbitant cost and rare sourcing of each ingredient. These matsutake mushrooms were air-freighted internationally overnight. This Wagyu beef is premium A5 grade from exclusive Japanese ranches. After finishing his introduction, he turned to glance directly at me. "Shenzhou, have you ever tried A5 Wagyu before?" "No." Zhao Chen chuckled lightly. "That's understandable. A single individual serving costs over 3,000 USD. His tone sounded casual, but his eyes carried obvious judgment and condescension. A classmate sitting beside him jumped in to compliment Zhao Chen's generosity. Zhao Chen waved off the praise. "We're all fellow students, no need for formalities between us." He lifted his glass to propose a toast. "Let's raise our cups to Dr. Su, and wish our research project smooth progress." Dr. Su clinked her glass lightly against his without extra comment. Once the toast ended, Zhao Chen shifted his full attention back to me. "Shenzhou, I heard you're originally from Jiangqing in China." "I am. What line of work are your parents in?" "My parents have ordinary working-class jobs." Zhao Chen's eyebrows lifted upward. "So attending MIT must create a heavy financial burden for your household, right? Tuition fees and living expenses can't be easy for your family to cover." Several students at the table exchanged amused, judgmental glances as he spoke. Dr. Su's chopsticks froze mid-air above her plate. I chewed my food slowly, swallowed completely, then responded calmly. "My family's finances are fully sufficient to cover all costs here." Zhao Chen nodded, feigning sincere concern. "I'm glad to hear that. If you ever need financial support or professional connections, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I don't have many personal talents, but my network across the industry is extensive." He glanced over at Dr. Su after finishing the line, clearly waiting for her to acknowledge his supposed generosity. She ignored him entirely, focusing quietly on her food. I set down my chopsticks and wiped my mouth with a linen napkin. "Speaking of the restaurant, Zhao Chen, the food quality here is excellent, no complaints." I scanned the full private room slowly. "But if you book future reservations, mention my name to the front desk. They offer a permanent exclusive discount under my account." Zhao Chen froze completely, and the entire dining room fell silent for a beat. "What exactly do you mean by that?" "Nothing complicated, just the literal truth." I sipped my tea. "Let's get back to eating." Zhao Chen's expression darkened sharply, ready to press me for an explanation, but Dr. Su cut him off before he could speak. "Let's focus on our meals rather than irrelevant side conversations." Zhao Chen swallowed his unspoken question, But from that moment onward, his glances toward me shifted from simple dismissive arrogance to sharp, wary suspicion. The dinner service wrapped up shortly after. Stepping outside Song Ting's front doors, Zhao Chen offered to drive Dr. Su back to her apartment, which she declined outright. He stood beneath a street lamp watching her hail a rideshare car and drive away, his face twisted with irritation. When he turned, he spotted me still standing on the sidewalk. He strode over quickly, hands stuffed into his designer trouser pockets, stopping uncomfortably close to my body. "What did you mean back there about getting a discount using your name?" I met his stare evenly. "Exactly what I said." He locked eyes with me for 3 long seconds, trying to gauge whether I was fabricating the story to embarrass him. "Shenzhou, don't think you can bluff your way through every social situation at school. Next week's interviews will settle everything between us." He tilted his chin upward and climbed into a waiting black Mercedes sedan. Driving off, Lin Bei jogged over to my side, cheeks flushed with curiosity. Was that discount line genuine, or just a lie to get under his skin? I lifted my hand to flag down a rideshare. "I'll explain everything once we get back to the dorm." Monday morning arrived. The day of the University Industry Research Project interviews. The interview space occupied the third-floor conference room of the physics building. 5 review panel members sat at the front table. Dr. Su Nianqing positioned dead center. 2 associate professors from the physics department on her left, and 2 senior staff dispatched from Zhao Corporation, a lead technical director and project manager, on her right. When I walked into the conference room, the Zhao Corporation technical director gave me a polite, generic nod. He had no idea who I actually was, which made perfect sense. All of my corporate assets and intellectual property ownership were hidden behind 3 separate offshore shell companies. Zhao Corporation paid $24 million every year to license my algorithm through Zhouxing Technology Holdings, a registered overseas firm. No employee at Zhao Corp had ever seen the real identity of Zhouxing Tech's founder. Interviews proceeded in the order of submitted applications. Zhao Chen presented second, and I was scheduled third. The first student's research proposal was mediocre, and the panel sent them off after only a few brief critical comments. Zhao Chen stepped up to the presentation podium. His PowerPoint slides were professionally polished, filled with animated data charts and high-resolution graphics. The core premise of his project proposal relied entirely on leveraging Zhao Corporation's existing proprietary data architecture to build a physics simulation modeling platform. But he made a catastrophic mistake. Slide 7 displayed the full internal structural diagram of Zhao Corp's core optimization algorithm. I knew that diagram better than anyone else in the room. I'd coded the full algorithm from scratch when I was 16 years old. As he walked through this slide, Zhao Chen deliberately shot a smug glance in my direction. "Our corporation owns the industry's leading data optimization algorithm, our unrivaled competitive advantage within the tech sector. For this university-industry collaboration, we will grant MIT limited access to our core back-end interfaces for academic research purposes." He spoke with unbridled pride, and the Zhao Corporation technical director seated on the panel nodded along, visibly pleased with his presentation. Once Zhao Chen finished his talk, the panel submitted their scoring sheets, and his overall review feedback was positive. Dr. Su Nianqing's facial expression remained completely neutral. No hint of bias either way. Then my turn arrived. I had not prepared a PowerPoint presentation of any kind. I walked to the podium and grabbed a whiteboard marker instead. Dr. Su frowned slightly from the panel table. "You haven't prepared a digital presentation file." "I don't require one." I turned toward the blank whiteboard and began writing equations. First, I drafted the core mathematical framework for data-driven physical modeling. Beside that block of formulas, I sketched a simplified version of the algorithm architecture Zhao Corporation currently operated on. Zhao Chen's face instantly drained of all color, turning pale. I kept writing, circling 3 critical structural bottlenecks within the architecture drawing. These 3 nodes create 32% redundant, inefficient computation cycles within the algorithm. This is the outdated version 2.0 your company currently licenses. I paused briefly, letting the statement sink in. I am intimately familiar with these flaws because I developed the original code base for this algorithm. The entire conference room went dead silent, every person holding their breath. The Zhao Corporation technical director shot upright in his office chair, eyes wide with shock. Zhao Chen jumped to his feet abruptly. What absurd nonsense are you claiming? I ignored his outburst and continued adding equations to the whiteboard. This is my independently optimized version 3.0 rewrite. Redundant computation is reduced to 7%, with overall processing efficiency boosted by 410%. This updated iteration has never been licensed to any outside commercial entity. I set down the marker and turned to face the full review panel. If this research project proceeds with data physics modeling using your current version 2.0 algorithm, the project's maximum analytical accuracy will be severely capped. Adopting version 3.0 will raise modeling precision by an entire order of magnitude. The technical director's hands trembled uncontrollably where they rested on the conference table. You are the founder of Zhoxing Technology Holdings. I am the sole founder of Zhoxing Technology. My name is Shen Zhou. Zhoxing derives its name from the nickname Zhou. His jaw hung open, unable to form a single coherent sentence, and he twisted his head to stare at Zhao Chen in complete disbelief. Zhao Chen's legs buckled under him, and he stumbled half a step backward, grabbing the edge of the conference table to steady himself. His voice cracked with raw panic. That's impossible. Zhoxing Technology's controlling entity is an offshore holding firm. My father told us, your father's information about the corporate structure is accurate, but the ultimate beneficial owner has never changed. I held his gaze unwaveringly. That owner is me. Zhao Chen froze solid, unable to utter another word. The room stayed utterly quiet. Dr. Su Nianqing sat centered on the review panel. Her hands were clenched tight under the table's surface, wrapped around a pen so hard her fingertips blanched white. Her eyes locked onto the mathematical handwriting covering the whiteboard, the unique angle of my pen strokes, consistent spacing between equal signs, the specific variable notation habits I'd used for 2 years in every derivation I sent her over WeChat. Zhou. Her lips moved silently, forming the nickname without making any audible sound. No one else in the room noticed the small gesture. I stood in front of the whiteboard, sweeping my gaze across the shell-shocked Zhao Chen, the stunned corporate technical director, and Dr. Su, whose expression held a tangled mess of hurt, surprise, and recognition. I finally shifted my eyes back to the equations on the board. My formal presentation concludes here. The full project framework is written out on the whiteboard for the panel's evaluation. You may submit your scoring sheets now. I set the marker down and walked off the podium. As I passed Zhao Chen's spot beside the table, I paused for 1 second. One final note. Zhao Corporation's algorithm licensing contract expires next month. The final decision on renewal sits entirely in my hands. Zhao Chen's pupils constricted sharply with terror. I walked straight out of the conference room without looking back. A loud crash echoed behind me, the sound of Zhao Chen stumbling backward and knocking over a metal office chair. Immediately after, the technical director's panicked whisper carried out into the hallway. Zhao Chen, call your father right away. This is catastrophic for our business. News of the interview revelation spread far faster than I anticipated that same afternoon. Before the Zhao Corporation technical director even left MIT's campus grounds, he dialed Zhao Zhengde, Zhao Chen's father and the company's CEO. Within 20 minutes, Zhao Chen's phone began ringing non-stop. When he finished the call, he emerged from the conference room hallway with a face ashen with rage. Lin Bei had impeccable campus gossip sources, and he rushed up to my dorm room by 8 p.m. with the full story. Zhao Chen got screamed at by his dad for a full hour over the phone. Everyone in the office hallway could hear the yelling. I lay on my bed flipping through an advanced physics textbook. What exactly was his father yelling about? Word spread that his dad ordered him to find you and issue a sincere formal apology. A student who overheard the call quoted his exact line. Of every single person you could have picked a fight with, you chose the original developer of our core algorithm. Do you want to tank decades of company growth? I turned the textbook page calmly. Oh. You're way too calm about this. Don't you feel even a little bit triumphant after putting him in his place? I stared up at the dorm ceiling and thought for a moment. There's nothing to celebrate here. Zhao Chen was never a genuine rival to begin with. He chose to belittle and provoke me entirely on his own, digging his own hole. The person I actually need to properly reconcile with has never been him. At 10:40 that night, my phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unfamiliar number. I answered the line. Shenzhou. It was Dr. Sun Yanqing's voice, clear and tight with suppressed emotion. Meet me at the ginkgo tree path behind the academic building. She hung up before I could reply. I pulled on a lightweight jacket and left the dorm. Late September nights in Boston carried a crisp autumn chill. The ginkgo tree leaves hadn't fully turned golden yet. Moonlight filtering through the tree canopy, and one street lamp along the walkway had burned out completely. She stood beneath the largest mature ginkgo tree, her knit sweater layered under an unbuttoned long trench coat. When she spotted me walking toward her, she kept both hands tucked into the coat pockets and didn't move an inch. I stopped 3 paces away from her, and we stood in total silence for 10 full seconds. She broke the quiet first. You're Zhou. It was a definitive statement, not a question. I replied simply, yes. She took a deep, shaky breath, her chest rising noticeably. Shenzhou. Explain this to me. You sent me a message claiming you'd failed to get into Harvard, said goodbye, then blocked every single form of contact with zero follow-up. 2 entire months of total radio silence. Your phone number was permanently disconnected. Your WeChat account vanished. And you deleted your physics forum profile entirely. Her voice trembled with stress. I genuinely feared something terrible had happened to you. That you'd crumpled under academic pressure and cut off all human contact. I reached out to every contact I had to try tracking you down, but I hit a dead end every single time. You have no idea how agonizing those 2 months were for me. I stayed silent, unable to find a single adequate response. She stepped 1 pace closer to my body. Then you walk into my lecture hall as a freshman, step up to the whiteboard, and solve problems using every single derivation method and formula logic I spent 2 years teaching you bit by bit. Her eyes reddened, but she tilted her head upward to hold back falling tears, refusing to let them spill over. Today you stood in that interview room and revealed that you founded Zhouxing Technology and earned a near-perfect 1598 on the SAT. You told me you couldn't get into Harvard. The last 4 words came out almost gritted between her teeth. All the prepared excuses I'd rehearsed earlier, wanting to surprise her in person, thinking a direct upfront confession would lack impact, dissipated completely under the weight of her tear-glistened eyes. It's all my fault. Her fists clenched tight inside her trench coat pockets, the outlines of her knuckles pressing hard against the fabric. That's all you can say. Just my fault. Shenzhou. SAT records are protected under federal FERPA privacy laws. I couldn't pull up a national database to search for random names. I searched every public competition, scholarship, and admissions announcement I could access, but I never found your name. I never thought to ask MIT admissions whether you had applied here. I truly believed you'd missed college admissions entirely, broken down completely. She cut her own sentence short, refusing to finish the thought. Even what? She wouldn't elaborate. Instead, she turned fully away from me, her back facing my frame, her shoulders trembling faintly in the cool night breeze. A few ginkgo leaves drifted down from the tree branches, one landing lightly on her shoulder. I stepped forward and brushed the leaf off her coat with one gentle finger. The second my skin made contact with the trench fabric, her shoulders stiffened instantly. Nyan Nyan. She didn't turn around to face me. I chose MIT solely because of you. You told me you worked in Boston. And later MIT admissions reached out to mention Dr. Sun Yanqing from the physics department had requested to connect with me after reviewing my competition paper. I suspected immediately that you were the professor they referenced. Her shoulders stopped shaking, though she still refused to turn back toward me. I'd planned to bump into you casually once the semester started, then reveal my identity as a surprise. I blocked you beforehand to keep you from finding out my plans early and ruining the surprise. I acknowledged how ridiculous the logic sounded out loud. I realized this approach was thoughtless and cruel. I'm truly sorry. A long stretch of quiet settled between us. She slowly rotated to face me again. Her eyes remained red-rimmed, but no tears had fallen. She held out one hand toward me. Hand over your phone. What for? Unblock my contact right now. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, navigated to the WeChat blocked contacts list, removed her from the block roster, and turned the screen toward her to confirm. She glanced briefly at the unlocked chat page, then lifted her fist and tapped it lightly against my chest. The impact wasn't painful, but it carried 2 months of bottled-up hurt and frustration. I didn't dodge the hit. Don't pull a stunt like this ever again. She adjusted the collar of her trench coat and walked past my side. She took 2 steps forward, then paused mid-walk. You've been selected for the University Industry Research Project team. Come to my office tomorrow to sign the official confirmation paperwork. With that line, she continued walking away without another word. Moonlight filtered through gaps in the ginkgo branches, casting dappled shadows across the path she'd left behind. I stood rooted to the spot, the area of my chest where she'd punched me still thrumming with faint warmth. Without fighting it, the corners of my mouth tugged upward into a quiet smile. Zhao Chen's last attempt to retaliate arrived quickly the following afternoon. I crossed paths with him in the physics building hallway, 2 classmates flanking his sides. His eyes were bloodshot, clearly deprived of sleep from the previous night's crisis with his father. Shenzhou. He spoke in a low, strained voice. My father ordered me to come apologize to you. Regarding the algorithm licensing renewal contract, my family hopes you'll extend our firm another chance. He swallowed hard after finishing the sentence, every word forced out through clenched jaws, his resentment palpable despite his forced apology. But he had no room to refuse the demand. 60% of Zhao Corporation's core data operations ran entirely on my proprietary algorithm. If the licensing contract expired without renewal, their entire data service division would collapse entirely. This was no longer a matter of personal pride. It was the survival of his family's multi-billion-dollar business. I studied his expression carefully. Did your father force you to come deliver this apology? His knuckles squeezed tight at his sides. Yes. My dad insisted I speak to you sincerely. Do you personally believe you owe me an apology? 3 full seconds of silence passed before he lifted his head, raw resentment burning in his gaze. I don't think I acted wrongly. You hid your real identity from everyone from the start. How could I possibly know? Your ignorance of my background doesn't excuse you from mocking other people's livelihoods to elevate your own ego. He fell completely silent, unable to formulate a rebuttal. At the private dinner, you mocked my affordable sneakers, interrogated my family's working-class background, and made snide comments about me never tasting luxury-grade food ingredients. I stepped forward 1 small pace. No matter who you're speaking to, those arrogant, condescending remarks never belong in a conversation. Zhao Chen's face flushed bright red with embarrassment. That wasn't the intent behind my words, Zhao Chen. I don't require a verbal apology from you. His body jolted in surprise at my statement. All licensing renewal negotiations fall under the purview of Zhoxing Technologies' business operations team. Not you. Tell your father to reach out directly to our corporate department to go through standard formal evaluation protocols. My tone stayed calm, volume unchanged. But remember this lesson moving forward. Stop leveraging your family's corporate power to intimidate or belittle fellow students. You need to understand one fundamental truth. The elite platform you flaunt constantly was not built by your own hands. Every single line of code your entire corporation relies on for revenue was written by someone else. The wealth and social status you take for granted can be revoked at any time by the person who created your foundation. His lips trembled uncontrollably as he processed my words. The 2 classmates trailing behind him subtly stepped backward half a step, avoiding his line of sight. I walked straight past him without glancing backward. A dull, heavy thud echoed through the hallway, Zhao Chen slamming his fist hard against the drywall. A muffled, choked roar followed afterward, his words indistinct, only raw, impotent frustration clear in his tone. None of his anger mattered to me anymore. That same evening, Zhoxing Technologies' business director called my cell phone. Mr. Shen. Zhao Zhengde from Zhao Corporation personally contacted our team to negotiate the license renewal and offered to raise the annual fee by 15%. Understood. Should we move forward with drafting a renewal contract? Have the team conduct an independent business review based solely on the performance of their data division. My conflict with his son at MIT should have no bearing on the company's decision. Will do, sir. I ended the phone call. Lin Bei poked his head over the edge of his top bunk. What did Zhao Chen say to you earlier in the hallway? I told him to have his father contact our corporate team to follow standard licensing procedures. Do you think he'll keep trying to cause trouble for you? Highly unlikely. I locked my phone screen. His father possesses far better business judgment and understands when to concede ground. If Zhao Chen intends to inherit Zhao Corporation one day, he'll have to learn to set aside his arrogance. This entire conflict with Zhao Chen was fully resolved. Mid-October arrived, and the university industry research project officially launched. Dr. Su Nianqing led our small core team consisting of myself and one PhD graduate student, holding weekly research group meetings every Wednesday afternoon inside the department lab. At our first team briefing, she wore a crisp white lab coat, her hair tied high into a tight ponytail, mapping out the full project framework step by step across the whiteboard. I sat in the audience watching her write. Her handwriting matched the concise, logically sharp style of every WeChat message she'd sent me over 2 years. Once the meeting wrapped up, all other lab members left the space first. She stayed behind to wipe marker residue off the whiteboard, and I lingered without exiting. Dr. Su. Her hand paused mid-wipe. While we're on campus, you address me as Dr. Su. What about when we're off university grounds? She slowly set the whiteboard eraser down onto its tray. Even off campus, Dr. Su is the appropriate title. I huffed a quiet laugh. All right, Dr. Su. She dropped her gaze to flip through a research folder, pretending to review data sheets. Yet she flipped back and forth over the same single page twice in a row, obviously not absorbing any of the printed information. How's UNZ doing lately? Her fingers froze around the folder edge instantly. She lifted her head to meet my eyes, clearly caught off guard. How do you know about UNZ? You told me 2 years ago. Your Scottish fold cat with a stubborn temper that only lets you touch her. Dr. Su closed the folder and hugged it tight against her chest. She's doing well. Put on 2 pounds over the past few months. That's good to hear. I walked 2 paces toward the lab door, then stopped and turned back to face her. Dr. Su. Yes. Would I be able to come over to your apartment to visit UNZ sometime? You promised me once that once I moved to Boston, I could come meet her and pet her. Her grip around the folder tightened, fingers pressing hard into the cardboard cover. Did I say that? December 17th last year. 11:23 p.m. To be exact. Her breath hitched softly, surprise evident on her face. You retain every tiny detail from our conversations. I've always had an excellent memory. She lowered her head, strands of black hair falling forward to cover half her face. A few quiet seconds passed before she gave her answer. Next Saturday works. I nodded in agreement and pushed open the lab door to step out into the corridor. Warm sunlight streamed through the tall hallway windows. My phone vibrated with an incoming WeChat message from Su Nianqing. She'd updated her contact label from the old nickname Nianyan to her full name. The message contained only one single line. UNZ is extremely wary of strangers. She'll scratch anyone unfamiliar to her. Come prepared for that. I leaned back against the concrete hallway wall, unable to suppress a soft smile as I typed a reply. Don't worry. Even if she scratches me, I won't run away. I slid my phone back into my jacket pocket and walked slowly toward the dormitory. All the ginkgo trees lining the campus paths had fully turned golden yellow. Students milled across campus grounds, some playing basketball on the outdoor courts, others reciting academic papers aloud on benches. A handful riding bikes passed me at full speed. I wandered slowly through MIT's campus, sunlight falling across the toes of my Antas sneakers. Simple, affordable, reliably comfortable.